Welcome back to another episode of Making a Difference in Mental Health. I'm Danielle.
I'm Wendy.
We have another special episode, another special guest today. This is part of our Modality series. This is part 3 of our Modality series, and we have our colleague here with us, Willa Fraser, who is an art therapist, among other things. But Willa, we want to say welcome to you. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Willa.
Thank you very, very much for having me. I'm so delighted to be here and talk about art therapy with you. I love what you're doing with this podcast and kind of bringing knowledge to the people about what we do in therapy. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So we're really excited to have you. As Danielle said, this is a continuation of our Modality series. We've talked about TFCBT, we've talked about DBT, and now we're talking about art and how art can be utilized in the therapeutic space. So we're really excited to hear your journey and what you're doing with your clients on your side of town. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey.
So I am an art therapist and a clinical mental health counselor with ABH. I was an intern with ABH, and I'm so happy to be back as a licensed graduate therapist and art therapist. Yay. Yes, we're delighted for that. And let's see, my journey to art therapy. Oh my goodness. I was in undergrad and I majored in art and psychology, which is kind of perfect for that, bringing art and mental health together. But it still took me about 10 years after that to decide to go back to school and become an art therapist. Part of that was because I didn't want to keep going to school. I need a little break. Also, part of it was I kind of wanted to get out in the world and practice my own art. And the more I did that and the more I got involved with galleries and working with other artists, the more I was inspired and kind of saw the power of art for personal change, for being able to communicate things about yourself, social change. And I just got more and more inspired and kind of was driven home that power of what art can do. So when I was looking for a career change, I always loved working with people, and I kind of fell into it that this married everything that I thought was good, being in service of others, working with people, and kind of using the power of art to help with growth and change.
I really love that. I even heard you said you did some gallery work. That's very cool. I really love that you're blending a passion, a skill, an art form with the mental health profession. And so with all of that, how did you come to ABH?
Well, when I back to school for art therapy, I went to a program that gives you dual degrees. So I have a degree in art therapy, which is like its own field, its own degree, and degree in mental health counseling. And I came to ABH to do my mental health counseling internship. That's how I found it out. And I basically came to ABH because I was researching online internships in the Baltimore area, and I found it, and it seemed like a really good fit. I loved all the people here. And so that's how I came to work at ABH for that. But I'm really happy to be, from what I know of, ABH's first art therapist on staff at this point. So I'm very excited. And to kind of be bringing that knowledge and that kind of new field into ABH and our services. So,
I love that we're talking about it, because I feel like, anyone that's, tuning into the podcast, subscribing, liking it, exploring careers in mental health, have no idea that you can marry these two subject matters of art and therapy. So this is wonderful. So Willa, tell us a little bit about, now we got a little bit of how you got into this. How right now is this impacting your clients? How are you utilizing these two techniques to describe for the audience, to get a sense of, I'm coming to ABH, and how would I get involved with a clinician using art therapy?
Absolutely. What I love about art therapy is there are so many kind of varied approaches. So you can come in, and the style that your art therapist might have may focus on cognitive things. They may focus on mindfulness. They may have very different approaches they use and ways they use the art. So there's a huge range of ways art can be used. As far as for me and my clients, I do a very kind of a varied range of things. It depends on the client and their needs. So one thing I always like to say is art works for all ages. So you don't have to be a kid to be able to do art. In fact, it can be very liberating for adults to kind of try art and kind of get back into that way to communicate. But that brings me to what I really love about art and using art in session is art is a way of communicating and a way of listening. So incorporating that into sessions and incorporating nonverbal expression into sessions is really a way for people to listen to themselves and see themselves in new ways. It's a way for me when I see someone create something or see what they've created and talk to them about it or just kind of sit with them with it. It's a way for me to understand people better and learn about them more. And so art is a way of listening and communicating, and that kind of breaks through different barriers as far as traditional kind of verbal therapy and that expectation of having to talk about everything that's going on.
I love it. It gives you that I love what you said, that it's a nonverbal expression, and it gives you that that space to express, sometimes more powerful than words. I'm just thinking about when I was in child welfare, just doing like groups with sex abuse survivors or individuals who survived domestic violence, and practice that we partnered with really had some very telling artwork that the kids did to describe their situations in home. And a lot of kids aren't good with the talk therapy,
right?
And so the ability to use this as a nonverbal medium is absolutely important when working with children.
Yeah. I remember here at ABH, we had a grief and art therapy CEU, and I had never seen that pairing. But Willa, it's like you said, art is a way to listen, to communicate in another way in which maybe in this instance for grief, people might not be able to express or say exactly how they feel. But I remember taking the time and following the trainer's directions when it came to try out this way to express a time where you felt grief. And then when people begin to, and these are clinicians, began to show their work, it was very eye-opening. It was kind of cathartic in a way, if that's the appropriate word to use. But I love this idea and practice that you can incorporate art into even therapy. So that's really cool.
In the ways in which you incorporate the art, as you talked, you can use mindfulness, you can use CBT. I did not know that, so I feel like I learned something new today. Yeah, I thank you for that, Willa.
Absolutely. May I mention something just about you just said about creating that with clinicians in the group? That's another really powerful thing about art, is just the act of creating something is hugely powerful. So the experience of making something in art with your therapist there or in a group setting, it's kind of an amazing shared experience that you can have with someone. So that can bring you kind of closer to people in different ways, and can be really powerful, just the experience of doing it. And I think that working with kids or with people who are having really intense grief or kind of intense emotional concerns where it's hard to talk, having that experience where you're in control of something, problem solving something, making something, when you're really in the depths of sadness or you have a lot of anxiety and it's hard to kind of like imagine getting over something, having that experience of creating something can be so, so powerful and so helpful. So that made me think of that when you're talking about that group aspect and learning from each other and just that experience of doing that together. So thank you for bringing that up.
And it wasn't just drawing, it was like 3D work. So we had magazines, construction paper, and the trainer just said, crumple it up or, express your feeling through the work. So it was definitely amazing. Willa, really quickly, do you have a group here at ABH, or are there plans for a group, whether it's an adult group, a teen group with your art therapy?
I don't have one started yet. I think that's a wonderful idea. I don't have one started yet. I may be starting some groups with the staff. So, because that art can be a huge stress reliever and a way to kind of bond with other people in your same profession. One of my, I'm going to take this from one of my professors in college. He said, rocks need rocks. So, an art therapy group among a mental health professionals can be kind of our way to lean on each other and experience some positive stress relief together. But I don't have a group yet, but that is a wonderful idea. And I would love to start offering that because it can be so powerful for people of all ages.
Especially parents too. I feel
parents.
We need lots more things to, help our parents, our kids too. So, and I would love it for you to, just run a group for just our colleagues. We can learn tips, but we can also benefit from it from a mental health standpoint as well. So I'm excited for you to go ahead and start that.
And speaking of the tips, as we're coming to a close for your interview, are there tips or are there resources for anyone who might not be able to go the traditional talk therapy route or the traditional singular CBT only, but would you happen to have tips or resources for individuals who are looking for the experience of art therapy?
Absolutely. So I would say the best resource as far as finding an art therapist, just learning more about the field, is arttherapy.org. That's the American Art Therapy Association's website. They have a lot of information about what is art therapy, what does it look like, art therapist finders, things like that, to kind of help you get an idea. And if you're going to the mental health fields and you want to learn kind of what an art therapy degree looks like or how that works, that's also on there. So that's really helpful as far as kind of getting involved in doing things on your own, like incorporating art and using art. I would say things like, if you keep a journal, incorporating visual imagery into that. So don't just write an entry, draw an entry at night and see what it's like. So that things like that, just kind of expanding that a little bit. And if you're not sure, if you're going to like doing art, it's okay. That's the point of it. You can kind of try it out, see what it's like. Art therapy is not about kind of perfection, and using art for stress relief shouldn't be about perfection. It's about the process and just learning through it. So, those are resources. And then if you want to just try it on your own, and then if you like it, or if you need support, that's one of the things an art therapist can provide, is kind of that support for trying new different types of art and learning new skills to kind of build your self-confidence and build your coping skills that way.
So audience, ABH clinicians are not only creative, they're innovative as well if you come here to seek services. So it's very nice to learn and know about art therapy and the other modalities that we do here. And we'll continue to share and teach our audience the great things that we do here at ABH.
Willa, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about art therapy, providing us resources, giving us insight even into your journey. This is a really good time today for the podcast. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll be the first to sign up, Willa.
Yes, right, wonderful.
In-house art therapy. Yes. I'm excited about that.
I know there's the I don't know if this is considered art therapy, but the adult coloring books, or
we used to use them in child welfare. So stressful what we did every day, and a couple of my supervisors would just have the coloring books laying, at the desk, and you come in, you talk about a case, you're coloring, and feeling, one way when you first come in, feeling so much more energized after you had time with your supervisor to color. So they're very effective adult coloring books.
Can be a great kind of quick stress reliever, is just doing some coloring. Absolutely.
Love it. Well, Willa, it is a pleasure to have you here to speak about your work in art therapy as a mental health therapist here at ABH. And we are honored to have had you on our podcast today.
Yes. Sign me up.
Thank you.
For your training.
Yes,
Thank you both very much. I'm so happy to be here. And I look forward to starting work with you.
All right. Yes, that's great. So thank you everyone for watching another episode. This is Making a Difference with Mental Health. I'm Danielle.
I'm Wendy. Please like and subscribe.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes. We're always striving to make a difference in mental health.